let's get this out of the way. So, let's take my glasses off for this because instant fog. I don't know how other people say, just put your mask under your glasses. It never works for me. So, today we're going to be working on this little mask. Masks are still a thing. They're going to be here for a while, and nurses and doctors still use them. So, I'm making a mask today. As you all know, I did my first mask video long before COVID. I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, and I don't think it took off once the pandemic happened. What happened was I got a lot of messages saying, I don't know how you can promote this. Never did that. Made that video before COVID. Know your rules and regulations on masks and how they protect. I'm not going to give any information about that here. I'm just making a mask. I did make a pattern, and this mask you're able to have a pocket for a filter. I don't have a filter in this one. I made it for the video, and I'm wearing it for myself. So yeah, I will eventually get filters for mine. So there you go. This is what I ended up with. I like this fit really well. I've seen others doing masks similar to this, so I thought I would develop a pattern for myself, and I did. That pattern is available in my Etsy shop or on my website. Either way, there will be a link in the description box below, and this mat is not included. So anyhow, y'all enjoy this little too. Okay, so the first thing obviously that we're going to do is get our pattern pieces. We're going to print them out, and you're going to cut the pieces out, and then you'll cut out the fabric. And if you're making this for an adult female, it's going to need some seam allowance, about a 1/2 inch. Just cut all around, and you can see with the smaller pieces, the 2 back pieces, I did not cut seam allowance around those parts that you're going to put darts in. You don't want to do that because then you're going to get a really odd sizing there. So I'm just going to take these pins out, and we're going to start putting this mask together. And this is a really quick and simple project. It's probably going to take you about 30 minutes to an hour, a little less than that maybe. And these 2 end pieces on the back part, you're going to see I'm going to fold these over and press them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and do a stay stitch on those, just to make sure that they don't, move around and fray when you get that mask put together and you're putting a filter in there. Definitely don't want it to fray and make a mess. So, and I think I did forget to mention that you're going to fold those in to where they'll be facing the inside or the wrong side of the mask once they're put together. You obviously don't want those raw edges on the outside. And I had a little trouble here. It kind of drove me a little nutty. Make sure that you kind of start maybe from the length of your presser foot to the edge, and you want to do a quick little tiny back stitch just to make sure those don't come undone. But if you start too close to the edge and you try to back stitch, your fabric's going to bunch up. So just so you know, in case that is a problem, you will know why. So there you go. Okay, so once I've got those pieces done, then I'm going to match the darts up with right sides facing, and I'm going to sew each one of those darts for the back part of the mask. Once I'm done with that part, I'm going to fold it with right sides facing together, and I'm going to sew the darts on the front part of the mask. And as far as the seam allowance for the darts, I just use my presser foot as a guide, and I start at the top. I start from the edge of my presser foot and just go down until it makes that point there, if that makes sense to you. I'm just kind of, you don't want to sew straight down and then whatever. You saw what I did. Alright, so this is what both pieces are going to look like once you've got everything sewn together correctly. And I did, it was on purpose that the ends, the sides where the ear pieces are going to be, on the back part of the mask are shorter than on the front. And that's simply because of the fold over. I didn't want there to be too much bunching, and then it might get a little uncomfortable on your face if there's, a heavy seam there. So now I'm just going to sew with right sides facing together. I've matched up the the seams for the darts on the back and the front of the mask, and I'm going to sew all the way down each side, the top and the bottom, I guess it would be, of the mask. And you want to be careful to do that curve as neatly as possible. I just have to admit mine turned out a little messy on one part of the curve. I noticed I think I lost direction and it was a little wonky, so you just want to be really careful that you do that curve as you should, so that everything comes out neat. Mine's not totally imperfect, but I can see it, and it drives me a little nuts. So alright, so I think there is a part missing here. I did clip my mask, I'm pretty sure, but for some reason it's not in this video here. But you do want to clip those circular edges just to make sure that they fold out nice and neat, and you're going to turn it right side out. And what you want to do is make sure everything is where it should be, and then press the edges really well so that it looks nice and neat. And then you'll see that I'll also fold over those ends and closing up that raw edge, and then folding that over so that I have room for a casing for an elastic band. You could do this with strings, ties as well. I just didn't do that for mine because I had elastic available, and I'm actually using a type of nylon elastic that you can see. Mine is fully circular, but if you have to cut pieces, then you would want to tie a little knot in it, or maybe sew it together at the end so that it stays in place. And I do have links in the description box below, some of which are affiliate links. Just know that if you purchase anything through those links, I get a little tiny commission. It's like 0.3% or 0.03% or something. But anyways, I do have a link for some really nice soft spandex elastic. It's not rounded like this. It's actually a roll of it. But I have tested it out, and it is really nice, and I'll be using it in future masks that I make. So you see, I'm just gonna go ahead and place my ear bands in there, and I'm gonna sew along the edge there. And it didn't cause me any trouble. As long as I had that piece pulled over, I could just sew it without, having to worry about it getting caught up in the stitching. So that is that. And if you don't want to make the filter pocket for this mask, then you could just cut 2 pieces of that front side and just sew accordingly. You just sew everything up as if you were doing both sides the same. I kind of like it with the pocket filter. Even if you don't use it, it gives you that option of doing that, and that's a good thing, especially if you're a medical professional and you need to be wearing that filter all the time. So if you need information on COVID and how masks protect you, you can Google that. I'm not giving any medical information here. But anyway, that is the finished mask. There you go. Here you go. This is what you end up with once you have followed my instructions for the mask. Just remember that the link to the pattern, which is available for a very reasonable price, is in the description box below, and that includes the 2 pattern pieces so that you can develop this pattern. This, without the seam allowance, is the size that would fit a child. If you put that seam allowance in it the way I did in the video, it will fit a teen or an adult female. You'll need to add more seam allowance if you want it for a man. Men's faces are usually wider, and they need a little more to it. So anyhow, this is how it looks on my chubby little face, so that gives you an indication of what it looks like. I actually like this mask. It's extremely comfortable, and it fits to my face. It conforms the way it should. It's under my chin the way it should be, and there you go. That's it. Hope y'all enjoyed this. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Peace. Bye-bye.